we're going to be focusing on my Etsy shop and focusing on digital art. And I always like to provide my stickers both as a Good Notes sticker sheet, which we're going to get to in a second, and also as individual PNGs. Having lots of income streams is just so helpful because things always go up and down, and I had some really great ideas that I'm really excited to share with you and to illustrate. Hi, and welcome to another week in my art studio. This week is going to be all about something a little bit different than usual, which is we're going to be focusing on my Etsy shop and focusing on digital art. So I create digital stickers in my shop. That was kind of how I started. So if you're new here, welcome. I primarily focus on prints right now. So it's art prints, greeting cards, notepads, things like that. But how I started was actually creating digital stickers and digital planners on Etsy. Now, my strategy has been to move everything that is a physical product off of Etsy because it has honestly been a little bit complicated being on there recently, and I've not really been selling my physical products much on there, and it has been going down overall. So I set up my shop on Shopify a couple weeks ago that I documented here. It was super fun to take you along. But I have actually since started having quite a few sales for my digital products. And really all of the illustrations there, although I still love them, they're not really up to the level or the illustration style that I currently have because I've been practicing a lot in the last couple of years. So I had a thought, what if as another income stream, since I am getting some sales on there, we would spend this week creating some new beautiful summer garden inspired digital stickers, and we would upload them there as another way to bring in some money into the company. I've been running my branding studio for 10 years now, and if there's one thing I have learned, it is that you should not just rely on client work. Having lots of income streams is just so helpful because things always go up and down, and it is also such a fun way to get creative energy out in different ways. So I think that's going to be really fun. The goal here is to create 3 sticker sheets and maybe 1 or 2 phone wallpapers. I think that's going to be the primary plan. So let's get some ideas down on paper and then we can start actually sketching a little bit. So we're actually in my main office right now. I haven't really filmed in here before. Like the space we were in just before is the filming studio space that we've set up. And I usually just film in there because we've already set up the lighting and everything. But this space, we used to have really, really dark green walls and that made the room super gloomy. But I recently painted it this really lovely kind of light green. So now we can film in here too, and I can share more because it's just nicer when you're working on something like on your computer or like on the iPad now to have more of a desk setup. So that's great. I have actually been thinking and planning out my collections for basically the entire year. I'm not going to be doing like super big launches or anything, but I wanted to really think about being super smart with my money, being really creative, and I had so many fun ideas. So I'm going to do basically 3 different launches. The first one is going to be digital stickers that we are going to look at in just a second. And I'm also going to show you how I make them. So if you also want to make digital stickers, this is a perfect opportunity to see everything from setting everything up in Good Notes, illustrating, exporting, things like that. I'm also going to have a launch with posters or like art prints because those I can make on my printer, so I don't actually have to outsource that. So that would be really fun. And I had some really great ideas that I'm really excited to share with you and to illustrate. And then lastly, I'm going to make in kind of around autumn, I'm going to launch another collection of Christmas cards because I think that's going to be a really good thing specifically for Christmas. And I can also then invest in a little bit of things like foiling and maybe some spot gloss and interesting things like that. So let me show you the list that I've been working on. I made a list for the 2 first collections. I'm going to do 3 sticker sheets. I'm going to do 2 completely new ones. And then I've looked at my analytics. And I have 1 sticker sheet that keeps selling, like it's my best seller, but it's really not up to scratch in terms of the style that I am doing now. So I think re-illustrating it and basically updating the listing could be a really good way to like keep that listing score. So there's like a score that every listing on Etsy gets that shows that it's more and more trusted, the more that people leave great reviews and the more that people are loving it. So That's a good way because it will be the same product, it will just be illustrated a little bit differently. So I have two new sticker sheets. So the first one is going to be, I've done these kind of like alliterations. So I'm going to do blooms and books because my best sellers are usually around kind of the bookish niche. And obviously, I illustrate a lot of flowers. So I thought blooms and books could be perfect. And I've actually already sketched those out. So I want to show them to you. And then I've already illustrated a few. The other one is called like birds and berries. And for this one, it's going to be things like swans, pretty birds. It's going to be raspberries and kind of this like secret garden feeling. But I'm really planning to kind of keep my stickers quite simple so that they're not making too much of an overwhelming thing. You can like plop them anywhere just to make your illustrations or your planning cuter. And then the third one, like I said, is the everyday one. I also have planned out some for the art prints, and I'm super excited about these because I had one idea for the first one, which is I am someone who a lot of times, although I am getting better at like slowing down, I can get really excited about doing stuff and then I start going really, really fast and then I start getting super exhausted. So I have this person that I saw who was talking about how it's so, so important to really think about going slower, but also to just be like going softer. So like not tensing so much and doing all these things that we all probably do all the time. So I thought we could do an art print that just says, take it soft and slow. And I can do lots of florals and things like that. And that would be a really pretty art print. That's just like a little nice reminder to yourself. And then the second one is, I don't know if you've seen this trend, but of these like spice villages. So they're kind of coming back. Like people put these porcelain villages of little houses. They're all beautifully illustrated and that have like a spice name on them. And I thought, that would be super cute as an art print that you could put in your kitchen. So I could illustrate basically a whole set of these ones that you could put in your kitchen. Instead, maybe not everyone wants to have an actual set. So I thought that could be really cute. And let me see. Oh yeah, okay. I want to do also a more traditional, like different pretty cans and like teapots and things with different florals because I know it's a type of motif that tends to do well. So I thought I would do one of those. So let me jump into the stickers and show you how I actually make them and what I've sketched for this first one, the blooms and books. So I illustrate all of my stickers in Procreate, just like I do all my other art prints and cards and things. And I usually like to have my sticker sheets be a very similar size to an A4. It's very similar to like a letter size because that's very similar to what GoodNotes use. So GoodNotes is a planning tool program. So if you take digital notes and things, you can use GoodNotes. And I always like to provide my stickers both as a GoodNotes sticker sheet, which we're going to get to in a second, and also as individual PNGs. So here, this is for the books and blooms, and I really wanted it to feel kind of like flourishing. You've got a range of books, so you've got like an open kind of story book, you've got like a cake book of baking, because it's very in line with what my audience likes, and also like a book with just a flower that could be anything. And I've got a range of different types of florals. And one of the things I did for this was I definitely illustrated a lot of these from scratch, but I also repurposed some of the illustrations I've used for my other drawings, because in this case, I don't have to come up with a new layout for this flower. I already have one. So that's a good way if you want to be a little bit more efficient with the way that you're creating, because we of course want to be playful and creative, but also if we're running a business, we want to be smart about it. So I'm really happy about how these are turning out. So I designed them like this because I want to make sure that I have space to put a little bit of information at the top, which will usually just be my logo and the name, so like blooms and books. So now that I have this, I don't actually illustrate them on here. I want to illustrate them all individually so that I can export them as an individual image. So the way I do that is I just use my lasso tool and then I grab one of them like this, and then I will cut it and paste it into a new artboard. So if you're on Procreate, you can just do 3 fingers, pull down, and then you can do copy, and then you can paste that into another artboard. I typically like to do 1,000 by 1,000, but you could do the same proportions as this. It really depends on how many layers you have because I tend to need a bit more. So let's create a new one. We're gonna go 1,000 by 1000. We're going to make sure it's RGB because we are doing this for a digital product. And then we're going to go create. And then I'm just going to paste this in here. And I'm going to scale it so it has a little bit of space on the sides because I'm going to be doing a white outline to make sure that this is going to be looking more like a sticker that actually works in different background colors. So when I have this, I'm always working in layers. So I'm just going to lower the opacity of this one a little bit. And then I just start building them up. So I have my kind of preset color palette that I like to use. And then I just adapt. So I'm using the dry brush. I think I've mentioned this tons of times, but I just love it because it does have a bit of texture. So I'm gonna need to go down a little in size. And then I like to just start by doing the base colors. And then I will go in and add details later. So this is something where I think this actually takes so much more time than I initially thought because you're not just illustrating one thing where you can work on the layers and do lots of colors in different parts of the illustrations at once. You're actually working on all of these separate illustrations that all need their own layers and their own things. So it does take quite a bit of time, but obviously once you've created a digital product, it could sell infinite times without you having to do anything else. So you really are investing this time up front, but then you do have that back. So I'm really happy that I got into this because it's such a great way to experiment and get better at your illustration while you are at the same time making money from it. So it's definitely not a get rich quick thing, and there's so many people talking about how to do this to make lots of money very, very fast. But just like with everything in business, don't get fooled. It is fun, it's creative, but it's typically not fast or easy. So here's what this illustration came out like. You'll see that I've added the details and I've also added this white border. The way that I do that is I literally just, if we go in and we create a new version, I literally just create a layer at the very bottom. I choose a studio pen because it has a uniform thickness. I choose a white color and then I pull it up all the way to the top and then I literally just go around it. There are definitely people who have done tutorials on how to do this by creating like an outline or maybe by other techniques where you don't have to do it manually, but I don't mind, and my stickers have a bit of texture, so I don't think it's a big problem if it's not perfectly uniform. But I basically go around and just do this and then fill it in. So now that we have the sticker that is all ready to use, I'm going to be exporting it in two ways. So I'm going to be exporting it as a PNG, and I'm just going to click save because that way I have it on my iPad and we can put together the GoodNotes sticker sheet. But I'm also going to do the same thing and I'm going to share it as a PNG, but I'm going to also airdrop it to myself so that I have it on my computer and we can use that for the PNGs. So the next step is to create the PDF background that we're going to have for the sticker sheet. So this is what it looks like. I've just designed it in Canva, super duper simple. So we're just gonna download it now as a PDF and then we can upload that to my iPad and we're gonna go into GoodNotes and put together the sticker sheet. So we're now in GoodNotes and here are some of the sticker sheets I've created before. So all I need to do now that I've downloaded the image is to go and click import on the source here for my background. And I'm choosing that one that I set up. So you'll see here now we have this background. And all I need to do now is to add in those images that I saved before. So the way you can do this is there's a little image icon up here. And if you click that one, you'll get here a reference for the different ones. So you can actually click and you'll see that it comes without a background because we hit the background before. So we can see that it does have a little bit of stuff that we want to crop off. So the way that we can do this is we click it and we click crop. And then I just use my pen here to go. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but this is just so that when someone uses this sticker, it's going to be roughly the proportion that they're expecting. It's not going to take off like giant space in one direction. And then we can resize these. Now, you remember that I had a sketch exactly for how I wanted to lay these out. So I try to stick to what I did so that everything fits in nicely. And I might have to go back to that for reference sometimes. So I basically just go through here and I click crop and then I do this for all of them and add them in. I can show you what one of the other ones look like and how you can use them. So let's grab from this one, for example. This one was a freebie that I did for my newsletter once. So here's what the stickers look like. And then if I now click on one of those, I can actually just click and go copy. And I can just go into my digital planner and then I can click and then I can paste. And that way my sticker is in here and I can use it for whatever I like. So that's actually super easy. So basically then what I'm going to do is once I have the sticker sheet all ready with all of the different stickers prepared, then I just go to the home screen and I click on the little drop down here and I choose export. And I'm going to then export it as a good notes sheet. And that way I have that to actually upload to my Etsy listing. The very last thing I do is to also just crop all of the PNGs so that they are also the right proportions. And the way I found it to be the easiest to do this is to just put them all into Adobe Illustrator and then basically adapt the artboard size to be the same as the actual image. So that way you don't have to create a bunch of different artboards from like scratch trying to guess what they are, but you're basically just drawing the artboards based on the size. I hope that makes sense. Once I have all of those stickers, I then export them as PNGs and I make sure I name them something logical so that people can quickly find them rather than having to look through like a long list of just numbers. Then I then take the folder that I've named PNG and the GoodNotes sticker sheet and I make that into a zipped file so that I can then upload it to a Drive folder. I hope you're following, just let me know if you have any questions at all. And then basically I can link to that as something that people can download. So the very last step is basically to have the thing that people will get as a product when they make the purchase, because you can't just have endless stickers because Etsy only lets you upload a few different items to each listing. So what I've done is I have a PDF that then has the download link for all of the different items. And in this one, you can also add instructions about how to use the digital stickers and things like that. And I've noticed that gives you a lot less support that you have to provide because people already know how to use the designs. So I thought before we wrap up today, I actually kind of left you on a cliffhanger last week because I never finished my thank you cards. And I did make like a prototype now. So I definitely have to make a couple tweaks, and this is only printed on like a thinner paper as a test. But essentially, if you were here last time, we did these thank you cards that are kind of like a cabinet. So you can like open the doors and you'll get this like kind of cozy cabinet inside. So I'm really happy about how it turned out. My printer does blue really well. So I think that they are super duper sweet. I need to make a couple alignment issues, and I also want to, I think I'm going to switch the color on the inside for the sweater to a complete white rather than like a cream color, just to make it even sharper and the design a little bit nicer, and I can write like the thank you note on the inside. So I think that's really nice. I am going to start by making them in-house, and then once we get a little bit more orders, I might actually order these as just an A5 card, but have them not folded. So almost like an A5 poster, because it's actually quite easy to see where you fold. So I have like a scoring board, and because I can see where the doors are, I could just quickly score them myself, and that would be way cheaper than having them have to come up with like a custom way of printing it and folding it. So I might do that. Thank you so much for coming along this week. I hope it was helpful to see something a little bit more focused, a bit more how-to. I would love your feedback to see what you prefer, if you like these more week in the life studio vlogs or if you like these kind of more focused ones. It's always interesting. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for coming along this week, and I'll see you next time.